Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be working on my son's Rustler 4x4 VXL. I'm going to be changing out quite a bit of stuff on it. Also, if you guys decide to work on it yourself, I highly recommend changing out this little guy right here. It's an aluminum bearing adapter for the slipper clutch. Mine actually melted. They say they do this. No big deal. It's a cheap part. It comes with an aluminum one. I actually changed it out already, but I want to show you guys how to do that as well. But these are all the things we're going to be changing out on this Traxxas, and we're going to see how it goes after we're done. I also got these wheels replacements. They're the OEM ones because my son had some fun and destroyed one of his tires on this one. No big deal. But also we got the axles, brand new. The metal ones from Traxxas. So there's all the parts we're going to be changing out on this. He loves blue, so everything's going to be blue. So let's see how this goes, guys. So one of the quick things I'm going to talk about is the aluminum bearing adapter on how to really do this really easily. It's only 4 actual screws to take off the whole back end of this rustler. It's pretty simple, so I'm going to show you real fast the 4 screws that you need to do. It's actually that one right there and that one right there. So you take those 2 off. Once you get those 2 off, you just flip this guy over and you take off this little guy right here and this guy, and then you wiggle it off and this whole back end comes off. It's actually pretty easy. And then another thing you can do to view when you put it back together, you take off this screw right here and this whole thing right here comes off, and you can actually see your pinion and your gear together to make sure they're lined up when you have it on. So when you have those screws removed, it does just slide out once you wiggle it out. That whole thing comes out with it, and it just wiggles out and it comes off. So I took off this little cover so you can look in there and see that you could see it as well as the gears. Just a little window to see what's in there. Actually, it's a good thing to clean that out because it does get dirty in there, and there's stuff that gets in there. So once you get, like I said, this one and this one out, go ahead and flip it over. And you see I got the other ones out in there. So now you should be able to wiggle this off. So there you go, guys. It's pretty easy to come off. I'm only doing this just because I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to take it off and replace this little guy and that little guy from in here. Let's wiggle that out. So I forgot, you gotta make sure you guys loosen that little guy up too. And there you go. As you see, there's the aluminum one that's in blue that I changed out. My old one actually melted. That bearing, I also changed it out, which was this one. Very easy to take out. You just pop it out with a little screwdriver, or by hand if you can stick your finger in there. And then you just change it out. It's pretty simple. You get, I believe that's an 8. And then you just hold this side over here. You loosen that up, but make sure you adjust it to where it was at, or where you like to. Actually, depends on how you drive your car, or what kind of style of driving you like, I guess. But I just adjusted it to where it was at originally on the threads right there, and I love it just the way it is. So there it is, guys. Pretty easy. So now I'm gonna go ahead and work on the suspension on this one and change out the arms and everything else. So one of the tricks I did is, as you see, there's a little groove in that, as well as in here. I cleaned this out, just make sure that goes in there nicely, and then I slid it back in to line it up with that one right there. It was a lot easier that way than trying to put this inside of here and then trying to line up the whole back end to that. So that was my way of doing it. I find it a lot easier after you replace this little part. Just make sure you slide it in there, and then it goes in there, connects to there pretty easily. But please don't forget that you gotta time that little guy, or else it's gonna flop right around. So I did put Loctite on that little guy, and I also did on the actual bolt in there as well, nut right there, just to make sure that it does not get loose. Don't use red Loctite, please, because that's going to be a horrible mistake. Make sure it's blue Loctite, like that one right there. And also about having that little window thing open, you can see in there to make sure that everything is lined up. Do not run it, or do not force it if it's not going in smoothly. That means it's probably not lined up in there as well. Once it's lined up, it goes in very smoothly, very easily, and the holes should line up like that, as you see those 3 holes right there. So please make sure you guys don't force it. Just go ahead and put the screws back in, and you'll be ready to go. So that's one thing I really recommend you guys do, is change that aluminum bearing adapter. It's actually plastic from factory, but before it melts on your spring and it gets a pain in the butt to scratch off and clean it, just go ahead and change it. It's a very cheap part to do. It's only like $5 to $8, something like that. Depends on where you buy it. Very easy to do, and brings your car back to life too. Mine was slowly like not accelerating as well. It felt like it was slipping, and got to the point that it wasn't going anywhere. And so I changed it out, and mine was melted. Changed it out, and everything was back to normal. The little monster was alive. So make sure you guys change that out. So let's move on to doing the rear end. Let's take off the arms, replace them, get the axle swapped out, the wheels swapped out for the back, bearings, the caster blocks, the stub axles. Let's get all this changed out, guys. So go ahead and start removing this screw right here, this one right here, and this one. Now we're going to move on to the little hexes right here. And make sure when you remove these, you guys get the little pin that's behind it. So I'll get it off right now. It's a little tight. I don't know if you guys can tell that little pin behind there. Let me see the little pin in there. Gotta make sure you pop that off so that the axle slides out. Do not lose those. So once you take this little guy off, just opens up. And then to get the inside one, let's go and spin that. There's a little guy in there that you gotta take out so that this just flops off. Should be able to just wiggle this off. There you go, guys. And that just flops right off. So once you guys take off, sorry, this little guy, there's a screw back here and the 2 screws underneath. These pins pop out. And there you go. Just make sure you remove the shock. And you pretty much have the whole side. Oops, accidentally did the wrong side. And you have that whole side off. And there you go. Everything off. Shock is still hanging on there. You don't need to take these off if you don't want to. I just flopped them up. Out of the way. And there you guys go. There's everything. Now you got to pull these out. And there's a little washer. Don't lose that. You can pop those bearings out if you're going to be reusing them. I am not going to be reusing them. I am going to be using that screw though. But everything else I'll be having new. Actually, when I opened up the package of these rear ones, I saw that it came with new hardware. So that was pretty nice. So there you guys go. Make sure you guys, when you guys pull the axles through, you don't forget that little washer right there, and then you put the little pin in and it holds the axle out. Don't forget the little ones in there as well. Make sure you put that one in. You put this one back on. I put Loctite on this one just because it's going to metal. It did come with other ones, but I do not want the Phillips. Oops. Well, it's a Phillips head. I prefer to stay with the original ones. And put everything back in place. The screw that holds up, and these two, and the pins to hold those in. As you see, the shocks as well are put back together. And all you need to do is line up those little guys with those little pins. So one thing else I forgot to tell you guys is that these little guys came with these pins with these little C-clips versus the old style was just it screws into the arm. I'm going to go ahead and put these in. That's what I decided to do. It's on both sides. I'm going to see how long those last. If not, I'm going to go ahead and take off these and just screw them into the arms. But that's one thing I forgot to tell you guys. That was a little different. So there you guys go. Out with the old, in with the new. I'm going to go ahead and do another video for the front end of this. And I'm going to swap out everything on the front as well. So after this video, just go look at my videos and look at part 2 on my rustler. Thank you guys.